Some Democrats are disappointed by that testimony, which the New York Times called dry, sometimes halting. Republicans made it a pivot point.
Welcome, everyone, to the last gasp of the Russia collusion conspiracy theory. It's time for the curtain to close on the Russia hoax. The conspiracy theory is dead.
Well, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, who presided over the first of 2 hearings with the special counsel, says the Democrats are moving ahead.
We will continue to seek testimony from key fact witnesses. As many of you know, the committee has authorized several additional subpoenas.
Well, following the testimony, a handful of Democrats are ready to start impeachment proceedings. So now the list is almost 100 lawmakers long. As investigations into President Trump continue, the House Oversight and Reform Committee is looking into security clearances. Its members are also interested in the administration's relationship with Saudi Arabia. They are digging into President Trump allegedly paying hush money payments as well. The House Intelligence Committee is examining President Trump's relationship with President Putin and potential obstruction of justice, while the House Ways and Means Committee is still trying to get a hold of the president's tax returns. Investigations also continue at the state and local levels. And as Robert Mueller noted repeatedly during his testimony, Roger Stone will be back in court later this year. Glenn Kirschner, let me start with you and ask about what happened yesterday with the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, going to court to say he wants to see those documents from the grand jury that underpin Robert Mueller's report. How significant is that? And what does that say to you about where we are in this process, this fact-finding process, this move toward impeachment by some Democrats?
You know, that was actually a big deal and a big moment yesterday when Jerry Nadler filed in federal court something that said, we are pursuing an impeachment inquiry. I mean, you know, everybody wants instant political gratification these days. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Slow and steady will win the day eventually. And when people say, well, you know, Bob Mueller wasn't very exciting and he was halting in his delivery. Well, first of all, he's entitled. He's a war hero. He's held so many significant jobs. He took on a thankless task and he sat there for 7 hours and he struggled a little bit. Yes, his health may be failing a little bit, but don't confuse the message and the messenger. What he said was dramatic, and it was an opening statement. It was Russian interference welcomed by Trump and his people. It was obstruction of justice over and over and over again. So Congress, here you go, do your job. That was the opening statement. Now it's time to see the witnesses. That's how the hearing unfolds. We need to hear McGahn and Hicks and Corey Lewandowski and others to now bring to light and to life this presidential misconduct.
Christina Greer, presumably impeachment would make that easier for lawmakers to do, and I'm going to quote here from the Washington Post. The Judiciary Committee spokeswoman said Pelosi had signed off on the language in the filings, and Nadler said the committee could not have brought these lawsuits without the help and support of Speaker Pelosi. Help us understand the politics that's buffeting all of this. You have a speaker who is reluctant to go down this route. What does that quotation say to you about her backing the effort that Glenn is just describing?
It leaves the door open and a window of opportunity for Democrats to pursue it in the future. I think where I deviate from agreeing fully with you, Glenn, is that we don't know what this future looks like. I mean, we have elections coming up. And so when Robert Mueller, on the front page of the first page of the Mueller report, says Russia has interfered, he sits down and he's like, they are doing it as we speak. So I understand. Robert Mueller, you know, chooses his words carefully. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to rush in. She wants to have everything prepared and ready to go. But we have the shadow of an election looming over us, and it's like we need to do this sooner rather than later. And I think that's where the factions within the Democratic Party are really coming to a head. You have 100 Democratic members of the House saying, we can't wait until 2020 or whenever in 2020 to start this process. We have to get the ball rolling, because the longer we wait, this cesspool of degenerates seems to just be stealing, lying, cheating in front of the American public, and it's a lot more dangerous, especially when we think about Russia and China and how they're influencing our government.
Julia, I laid out some of the investigations that are ongoing. Yeah. There is all of that, and then there's the White House insistence that these folks have absolute immunity, that they don't have to testify on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, that's right. I keep thinking about how Nadler had to use the impeachment when he went to court in order to try to get some of this material to say because we are pursuing an impeachment inquiry.
I'll put it up there just to interrupt you quickly.
Yeah.
Because Department of Justice policies will not allow prosecution of a sitting president, he wrote, the United States House of Representatives is the only institution of the federal government that can now hold President Trump accountable.
Right, that's some strong language, right? But what they're after is material that, you know, is grand jury protected and that you would hope that Congress could get on its own without having to dig through Mueller's trash. But you know, not having to go back through what he's already done. But they're at that point because they haven't been able so far to get Don McGahn or Hope Hicks or these people to testify. And the road there could be longer, and you have to look at the clock. You know, the election coming up. And so I do remember we were heading into Mueller Day. We're all geared up for this. We all said the bigger testimony would be Don McGahn. He was the most cooperative witness. He talked to Mueller over 30 times. He is at the heart of the obstruction accusations. He was the one who the president talked to fire Mueller, and then he came back to him to say, tell everybody, I didn't tell you to fire Mueller. He's at the heart of that. And he's really what all of this could switch on a pen. But at this point, he doesn't. I don't know their way around it.
Glenn, lastly to you on that point, I mean, you watched the first hearing, the judiciary hearing, Don McGahn's name came up literally question by question by question. That was the focus. Laying out that obstruction case was so central to what the Democrats on that committee did.
Yeah, and I'm with Christina. They better start running it like it's a half marathon, not a full marathon, because the clock is running out, and the president has already announced, I'm welcoming foreign interference again. So I'm not confident we're going to have free and fair elections. But on the Don McGahn issue, listen, this absolute immunity is pure legal nonsense. Judge Bates ruled that in a case in 2008. It's a trial court case, so it doesn't have appellate court precedential value. But once they get on the dime and they start litigating these issues, the courts will knock them down one after another after another. I hear from McGahn, Hicks, Lewandowski, who that's a special kind of insanity with the president dispatching Lewandowski to fire the attorney general if the attorney general didn't shut down the probe. There's a basket full of high crimes and misdemeanors right there. We need to hear about them.
Little Kirschner.